I do not see that we have Commissioner Welk,
Right.
but we do have a quorum.
Okay, well, I think we'll get started then, okay? All right, it is Monday, September 28th, 7 o'clock, and the Planning Commission meeting is called to order. Roll call, DeFranco,
Here.
Eiley,
Here.
Helmrich,
Here.
Rowe,
Here.
Shipley.
She's here.
I know she's here.
I was muted somehow.
Okay, you got
Here.
Thank you. Welk, Israel's here. Okay, let the minutes show that Welk was not in attendance, but we do have a quorum. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? I have one that I would like to add under new business 6D. And it's just brief, but no, it would be 6E, I believe. And it would just be, I just want to address process charts with you for a minute. Okay. All right. Would someone please make a motion to conduct this meeting in accordance with the Executive Order 2020-154 via Zoom and ratify the procedure for public participation in meeting conduct as described in the notice of public meetings and to approve the agenda as amended?
I would so move.
I'll second it.
And we need to take a roll call vote because we're on Zoom for that. Thank you. DeFranco,
Yes.
Eiley,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Hey, Becky, I should have said this earlier, but it's Helmrich, and yes.
oh, I always liked Rich. Helmrich. Yeah, you should have told me that about 2
I
years
know, I
ago.
kept saying I should.
Okay, Rowe,
Yes.
Shipley,
Yes.
Israel's yes, and Welk has not joined us yet. Okay, and now moving on to the minutes. Number 4. Daniel, thank you for doing the minutes. How did it feel to do it for the first time?
It was okay.
Okay, good. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Let's look at page 1. And I just have one, and now I have to find my minutes. I'm sorry. I would just like to separate my thanks to the 2 members. I would like to separate the thank you to Andy Preetz for his leadership and to Chris Lozano. And I just want to do it separately and not join them together, if that's okay.
Makes total sense.
Okay. Any other corrections on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4? And page 5? Okay.
I would move that we accept the minutes as amended.
I'd like to support that and also commend our new recording secretary, DeFranco, for doing such a great job.
Thank you.
You're here.
Here, here. You
Yes.
did a great job, Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And again, we will have to take a roll call vote for that amendment. I mean, for that motion, please. DeFranco,
Yes.
Eiley,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Shipley,
Yes.
Israel's yes, Welk, not here. Okay. Nice job. I would like to sincerely welcome all of you who are attending this meeting tonight. It looks like we have a lot of people attending via Zoom, and please know that we recognize that Zoom meetings do present their challenges. And maybe they also provide a little anxiety for people who are attending, definitely if it's your first time, but we will do our best to make this as comfortable and as inclusive as possible for you. Please note that as we move forward through the agenda, I will recuse myself from item 6C because of a connection to the property being discussed. And Mr. Eiley will reside as chair for that item on the agenda. Moving into number 5, public comments. This is the portion of our agenda where you, our public, and members of our community are given the opportunity to express your ideas, thoughts, or whatever, your comments. The Planning Commission requests that speakers respect the 3-minute time limit for individual comments and a 5-minute period if you are speaking for a group of persons. This is not a question and answer period, but it is an opportunity for you to express your thoughts with the Planning Commission. Please note that if you're speaking to any one of the special approval use items on the agenda, there is also an opportunity for public comment on each project once it has been introduced by our planning administrator and the applicant. And you will have another opportunity to voice your opinion further on down the agenda. The floor is now open for public comment. Would anyone care to start? And I believe Lene might assist you in recognizing who you are, and that will help facilitate everyone talking at once, I guess.
Sure, I'm happy to call on anyone who wishes to speak on any item, typically not on our agenda tonight. We do have a second opportunity at the end of the meeting. But would anybody like to speak? You can go ahead, you can unmute yourself, or you could give us a thumbs up if you'd like to speak. Scott, hi, Scott. I am going to unmute Scott Waringa.
Okay, hi, thank you for recognizing me. I'm just, my comment, I just wanted to comment on an email that I sent today regarding the Van Horn Pond. And I know there have been various communications back and forth via email and such. I did, I reviewed the pond permit application that Mr. Van Horn must have filled out back in 2018. It does state quite clearly that if the pond is going to be 5 acres or more, that he needs DEQ. And I understand whatever map or whatever he provided didn't show it being bigger than 5 acres, but I just feel like the township has a duty to actually go in now that the pond is complete. I know there's another whole process with the sand mining, but I just feel like it's not that much to ask to have somebody go out there with, a measuring wheel or some kind of a laser thing, or I don't know how these things are done, but just to measure it. As I stated in my email today, I have, very strong reason to believe that it's actually more like 6.5 acres. And I just don't think it's asking that much to have that followed up on. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Is there anyone else who would like to say something?
I'm not seeing any other reasons.
Okay, at this time, we will close the public comments and move on to item number 6 on our agenda, new business. The first item under new business, and I have to put my glasses on to read this, is special approval use and site plan review application to amend the approved special approval use medical and recreational adult use marijuana facility on parcel number 20-021-026-20 AKA Blue Star Provisioning, southwest corner of Just Barnes Drive and Blue Star Highway. The parcel is within the C3 zoning district. Lene, would you like to start the township staff presentations on this project?
Or I can start. Let me just open one other item. And share that screen. All right. So the request before you, as you mentioned, is a special approval use for a marijuana provisioning center and retail. That means that if approved, the applicant would be able to sell both medical and adult use marijuana. The site is approximately 2.75 acres in area. It's at the northeast corner of, well, actually, I'm sorry, it's at the southeast corner of Blue Star Highway and Just Barnes Drive. The zoning ordinance has two sections for special approval uses for marijuana facilities. First, the application has to conform with our general standards for special approval uses. It also has to specifically meet the standards for special approval related to marijuana businesses. So the memo that's included in your packet, and I realize and I do apologize for the fact that the digital copy did not have this memo, but we had many, many attachments. But everybody did have a copy of this in their printed packet, and it's available here on the screen. So the first section is related to marijuana facilities specifically. So item 1 relates to whether the facility is set back from property lines per the C3 district, and whether it is screened or buffered with a fence, a wall, landscaping, anything to minimize light spillage, odor, noise, and any other impact to adjacent property. And what I can do, again, this is a very extensive packet. I was going to try to pull up the site plan for you. Hold on one second. I have to toggle here. Okay. One second. So, all right, let me zoom out for everybody. All right, just to give you a quick overview. So as I mentioned, this is, can you see the screen with the site plan?
Yes.
Okay. So this is Just Barnes Drive, and then this is the Blue Star Highway. So this is the parcel that we're looking at. The building fronts Just Barnes Drive. It has 2 entry points. It also has stormwater detention in 2 locations, parking, and then this back corner has the enclosed dumpster. There's landscaping along the frontages of the property. There's also wetland here in the southeast corner of the parcel. There's also some wetland towards the north. And the applicant is going to be working, and they have been working with Eagle to mitigate any impact on wetlands. So this map shows you where some of those wetland features are, where my cursor is, and then back in the corner of the site. So they've tried to situate their development outside of those wetland areas. So here on the screen is the site plan. They've placed their parking. They've got the first entrance here off of Just Barnes, closest to Blue Star Highway, is an in only. And then the car traffic would exit on the second drive. The second drive is bidirectional. The building is proposed to be 38 feet by 80 feet. It's set back 30 feet from the front yard setback. And they do show a paver area for some art. And then I will scroll down to show you what I have in terms of the building, the landscape plan. I did provide an overview of their landscaping. They do meet the requirements of our ordinance with the quantities that are being provided. And then this is the draft of their exterior elevations, but we do have some comments on these elevations. So we do think there's opportunities to add some more windows, but this is what they envision for the building. So back to the review memo. So we did find that the property meets the setbacks as required in the C3 district. They did include a waste management plan that was in your packet, and that meets the requirements of the ordinance. They're proposing to destroy any products before they're placed in any disposal container. The dumpster is locked, and they're also going to be processing any product according to the DEQ or Eagle and the state standards. The security plan indicates that marijuana will not be stored overnight in any outdoor waste bin. We do prohibit that, and they comply with that. Number 4, our requirement is that signage does not depict any marijuana product or paraphernalia. They did not propose any signage for us to review. Typically, signage is reviewed at a later date. We have a separate sign permit process, and we will verify that the signage does not depict any marijuana product. Standard 5 is related to co-location and stack licenses, and we find that that standard is met. They would be having 2 licenses, one for the provisioning center for medical and one for recreational. Then we have standards related to odor control and air filtration. They're proposing a closed loop bipolar ionization control system as their mitigation device, with a secondary system of carbon filtration. The systems are connected to their HVAC units in all rooms where the marijuana is packaged, stored, displayed, or otherwise handled. They're proposing 12-inch activated carbon filters in the HVAC intake system. The can that they use to put that carbon filter in is sized to clean 1,800 cubic feet per minute. We would like to have, we've included a condition in any approval that their engineer confirm that the odor elimination proposed meets the requirements of our special approval. We did calculate there's about 5,000 cubic feet of area that includes the sales floor. So we just like to make sure that the quantity of carbon filters that they're proposing can process and filter the air accordingly. We didn't see any details about the maintenance of the odor control system, so we did include that also as a condition that they provide a maintenance plan for that. We added a condition that negative air pressure be maintained inside the building. We added a condition that windows and doors must remain closed except for the ingress and egress, the main doors. And then if they're submitting an alternative system, then we would want a report, and that is not applicable because they are submitting the system that with the carbon filtration. Because this is a provisioning center, we do have hours of operation that are required to be met, and they have met those. So they would be closed between the hours of 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. We also have a standard that deliveries cannot occur between the hours of 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. We did not see in their application that they restricted deliveries to any time period. So we did add a condition that shipping and receiving occur outside of those hours. And then we have a standard that the interior of the facility must be arranged in a way that neither marijuana nor marijuana infused products are visible from the exterior of the building. And we did find that that standard was met. And then we have those general standards for special approvals that we do believe that this use is would be harmonious and in character with the surrounding area. The property in the area is also zoned C3. We found that this building and this use will not change the character of the area. It's a commercial corridor. We found that the approval of the use, given the standards and operational and maintenance plan that they've provided and safety plan, because of that, those plans would not have a negative effect on nearby persons or property. And then we also found that this use would not place additional demands on public services because they've limited their hours of operation, because they have a security plan with CCTV, they have a surveillance system, they have a very intense kind of locking and entry system. They have key fob and pin controlled access to materials. They have ID card requirements, an alarm system, et cetera. So those all relate to the special land use. They've also included and request site plan review. But if you, I don't know if you want to go through the site plan standards right now, or if you want to do the public hearing on the use and then get into the site plan. We can talk about all of it right now, or we can kind of separate the discussion. Is there a preference? No? Okay. We can just get into the site plan then. So the standards for site plan, I mean, we found that many of them are met. Again, the placement and elements of the site plan, the building being organized and in keeping with the character of the area, we found that that standard was met. In terms of landscaping and buffers, they did not include all of the quantities of landscaping that we would require in the site plan because they are keeping some of that site untouched due to the wetland and the natural vegetation. But we did add a condition that they provide some additional landscaping. Just looking at their site plan, we feel that there is opportunity to add some more shrubs. You see that they're not touching this area that's part of the wetland, but we did think that there could be some additional landscaping added, perhaps along the back, along Blue Star Highway, even if it's, if they're doing different types of shrubs, like more of like an upper canopy, a mid canopy, and a low canopy. So perhaps they can just add some other species to this mix. The natural features, so they have minimized the impact to wetlands, and it might be something you wish to ask the applicant about, specifically how they intend to mitigate any of the wetlands that are being disturbed. We did have the township engineer review the site plan, and he has provided his comments. He did state that he would like to see their drainage calculations. So a condition is in the report that the applicant abide by any of the standards of the township engineer, and that would relate to drainage and stormwater management as well. We found that the site plan provided reasonable visual and sound privacy for dwelling units, even though there aren't any in close proximity to this use. We did add a standard that all of the driveway and access meet any condition of the fire district. We do not have a review from them at this time, but there is a condition that anything the fire district provides in terms of comments or needs would have to be met as a condition of approval. We did find that there is access to a public street and that the approaches are sufficient. We did find that there's a proper relationship between Blue Star Highway and the service drives. There's no pedestrian circulation system on this side of Blue Star Highway, so we did not find that there was any need to include any sidewalk at this time. In terms of loading, they've included a secured transport area in the building where the vehicle can enter the building through the garage door. So all of the loading and unloading of product can happen in a secure area. So we found that that standard is met. In terms of outdoor lighting, we did have some questions about some inconsistencies with the security plan and the photometric plan that we've added a condition. It's minor, but the photometric plan says that the light poles are 20 feet in height, and the security plan says that they're 15 feet. So we just asked that the applicant clarify that. We also asked that they provide a cut sheet showing the fixture type, the make, the model, and any features that they plan to select for that light fixture. I already talked about pedestrian and bike paths. We found that that standard is met. Number 14 is not applicable. Number 15 and 16, we refer back to the township engineer and the fire district. They're not proposing any storage areas. So number 17 is met, and no outdoor storage is proposed. We don't anticipate in number 19 that this use would create any electrical or electromagnetic interference. We did review their safety plan and their waste control plan, and we find that they meet our standards. And then we added a standard that the applicant comply with any other review bodies, any applicable review bodies like the county drain commission, the road commission, the fire district, and our township engineer. And then the last section of our site plan review is related to the architectural review. And this is where we did have some comments. So the building material is called boral siding, and boral, it's an ash polymer. It looks like wood siding. There's also a knee wall along the bottom of the building, like 18 inches from the ground level. And we didn't see that the applicant identified what that material would be. So we'd like to have that identified on the plans. We also noted that the elevations are mislabeled, like east should be west and north should be south. So we've asked for those to be clarified. And then just the color, the fascia is described as black, but the rendering shows it as brown. So we did have some questions on the building. We also wanted to make sure that the Planning Commission talks to the applicant about whether the siding that they're proposing meets the intent of the ordinance. And because our ordinance says that the finished materials visible from a street, a road, or a parking lot should be wood, split or natural face stone, brick, or architectural block. So we just want to make sure that that boral siding in your minds is a wood or wood equivalent, okay? The next standard relates to building facades, and we have a requirement that 15% of the facade should be glass. And we don't believe that the building meets that in terms of the facade on Blue Star Highway. So that is a requirement. So that condition has been added. We also want to make sure that the windows are clear glass. The security plan describes those as reflective and tinted. And the importance of clear glass is because when you have a reflective surface or tinted, a passerby kind of reads that as just a solid wall. It doesn't have that transparency that we want to see in and out of the building. So it's really important that even though they're putting glass in, that glass be non-reflective and that it be transparent. So we've added that condition. Number 4, we did want to just make sure that the color of the fascia is clarified, whether it's black or brown. The roof is shown as flat, but our standard is that we have a pitched roof, not less than a 512 slope. So we've included that as a condition. We have a requirement that architectural features like archways, colonnades, cornices, or peaked roof lines be part of the building. And we did not believe that the building as presented meets that standard. So that's another item. Number 7 is met because we don't have any facade. Well, we do have one greater than 80, but it does have a wall plane variation. It has recesses. Number 8, we said that the facades that face the street shall have a variety of roof lines and building lines. And again, because the roof is flat, we did not feel like it met the intent of this standard. And they need to meet that at Blue Star and also at Just Barnes Drive. Number 9, again, relates to the windows and clear glass. So we just want to make sure that that glass is clear. Number 10, we added a condition that any rooftop mechanical be screened. Number 11 is not applicable. Number 12 is not applicable. Number 13 and 14 are also not applicable. So you'll see this is quite an extensive review. We've had some really great communication with the applicant and their engineer. They got caught in the COVID timeline, so we just extend a lot of gratitude to them for continuing to keep the communication channels open and you know, the ebbs and flows of the time. We've certainly all tried to do our best. They were actually slated for a public hearing the Monday after our governor issued the requirement that we all stay at home. So we've been working with the applicant and they've prepared some updated renderings, and I know they're already getting started to meet some of these conditions that we have in the memo. But this is a public hearing, and I know that the applicant, their agent, Matt Bush, is on the line, as well as the owners. And then I'm sure we have some public who wishes to speak. I'm sorry, I know this ran long, but there was a lot here to go over.
Well, that was great though, Lene. I think that it was a lot of information to go through, and I commend you for going through it all so diligently. Is the owner here to speak to the business and anything else at this time?
Yes, I'm Matthew Bush. I'm the civil consultant on the project. We also have a representative for the owner applicant on, Stacy, and a contractor consultant as well, Sig, who can maybe help. We can help answer any questions you may have here. As far as a couple of these items, as Lene stated, we are working diligently and made a couple updates already to a couple of these items. Just to name a few going through the list, we do have a conceptual entry sign in the plan now. It does not show any marijuana or marijuana paraphernalia on the sign. We updated our narrative to restrict our delivery hours from 9 a.m. to 7 a.m. in compliance with the requests. We'll continue to work with staff, and we're confident we can kind of work with staff on addressing the architectural and a couple of the odor concerns that were brought up in the detailed review, and the additional landscaping on site won't be an issue. I'm sure we can come to an acceptance on that with staff as well. Couple of permits, as mentioned, are already in order, and as far as looking to submit for those, including the drain commission, drainage calcs are in the plans. We'll be getting that to the drain commission as well, and we'll make sure the little things like the pole heights of the photometrics are coordinated between all the documents. But other than that, we're just happy to be here and open to hopefully answer any questions you may have tonight. And moving forward, we commit to work with staff as hard as we can to get all the conditions met.
Thank you, Matthew. Because this is a public hearing, I'm going to open the public hearing right now to the public. So the public hearing is now open, and please share with Lene if you would like to speak, and she'll address your name and then allow you to speak. Again, remember your comments are limited to 3 minutes. And
Okay, great, thank you. Madam Chair, also wanted to note that Ed Welk has joined. It's 7:37, so if we could add that to the minutes that Ed Welk has joined. Okay, so anyone from the public who wishes to speak, you can unmute yourself. You can also provide a control, raise your hand if you'd like. Or give me a thumbs up. Hi, Ed. Thank you for joining us. Okay.
is there anyone that would like to speak to this project at this time?
Okay.
I know that was you, Ed. Okay, Ed, I'm going to mute you for now. We're going to listen to Jeanette would like to speak. Jeanette, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Hi. I just had one quick question regarding the marijuana facility. How far away is that one from the one that's already existence in Douglas? Isn't there one in Douglas already where the old car wash was?
Thank you, Janet. We will take that question.
Okay.
Yep.
Under consideration, but it's not a question and answer time right
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No,
First
but
time doing this fun stuff. Thank you.
No,
Sorry about
no,
that.
yeah, we don't go back and forth answering questions, but we accept your question, and during the discussion, that answer will likely come out, or the planning commission might ask me to answer that question.
Yes, ma'am.
We're just collecting all of those.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anytime.
sure. Anyone else have any comments that they would like to share?
I don't see any.
Okay, at this time, I would like to close the public hearing. Now, at this time, I will open this up to commissioners to ask questions and talk about this, and any of your comments, please, to staff or the public?
Becky, I would like to make a motion now.
Can I ask a question?
Approve.
Prior to that, could we stick with some clarification or questions about the project? Ed?
Well, we can make a motion about the projects, and then we can discuss them in great detail.
John?
I just had a couple questions. One is a kind of a question clarification. I'm not sure I'm reading the site plan correctly, but it looks to me like the only entrance and exit from the facility is actually on Just Barnes Drive, which is technically a private drive. Is that a concern we should be?
Well, again, John, I just want to make a motion, and then we can discuss this in great detail.
Okay,
Madam
Ed,
Chair, I don't care the order.
all right, Ed, go ahead and make your motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve both special approval use and site plan application under new business A and special approval use application under item B. And I think I have gone through the details several times, and it appears that except for the planning commissioner's concerns, which I think we should address and hold both clients hold to, that they meet Lene's concerns, that we approve these two applications. And I know we've been down this road a bunch of times, and to keep going down it, I think just wastes a whole lot of time on all of our parts. So that would be my motion, to approve the two approve the two applications and accept the planning commissioner's recommendation as far as what needs to be done to make them totally acceptable to her.
At this time, is there a second to Ed Welk's motions?
Well, yeah, but
Without a second, the motion will not be considered at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, and so now, as a point of order, I would like to go back to the agenda, and we are discussing item 6A. And we are at the point where we are asking questions and getting some clarity, discussion, clarifications for the Planning Commission, for the project representative, and to the public and staff. Is this correct?
That's correct. I know that there was a question about the private road. Matt, would you be able to answer that?
Sure. Yeah. As far as the access off the private road from a traffic management perspective, it's actually a little better to come off the private road there than to do two connections to the major highway Blue Star right next to each other, which is what we would be doing coming off of the frontage of Blue Star. So, you know, originally there was one access off of the private road, and then we did a one-way in and out for circulation improvements for traffic. And we feel, and it sounds like the engineer consultant for the township doesn't have any concerns either, that it would be best to come off Just Burns, the private, rather than to pull off the major highway of Blue Star. So.
And as far as it being a private road, there's no potential access issues over time relative to this facility?
I do not foresee there would be. There's actually, it's, I believe it's a right-of-way dedicated, whether it's an easement or right-of-way, we'll confirm that, but there's also additional parcels that are accessed through this road as well. So.
Right. Okay. No, I just wanted clarification on that. It just
Sure.
struck me as, well, my only other comment, and this is more for Lene, and it speaks to this application and also one that's previously been approved and is under construction. And I'm just concerned about when we place landscaping requirements and conditions on properties and they're not always followed to the letter. What are your thoughts on that in terms of, once a tree's cut down, it can't be put back, or we can, take some steps, but I'm just concerned about that because it does seem like one of the projects underway right now has been a little more aggressive than what I thought this commission had approved.
Yeah. I think that we can have maybe add a condition that the applicant kind of put some dimensions to the do not disturb areas that they're showing on the site plan. So we have a better understanding of where those protections will take place. Certainly, we have no control over any clearing that's outside of the property line. The road commission can clear anything that's within the right of way. But I think that our ability is to have them put those dimensions, maybe flag the trees and the areas or like tape them off with flagging tape, the areas that will not be disturbed. We did that with the other project and they were disturbed.
So and when that happens, is there any recourse or?
I know this is more of a sidebar, but
it is, but
about it later, but yeah, we can talk about that later.
Okay.
The recourse is that they have to abide by our landscaping requirements in terms of quantities. If they intended to count areas on the site plan that are do not disturb or wetland, trees that are existing towards the quantities that we require. If they remove those, then they're going to have to replace what was lost, but you can never really replace a 20-year-old tree with a new 2.5-inch caliper. That's
So
unfortunate.
if I may, is there a financial penalty somehow?
No,
Standards aren't met? Did you?
no.
I mean, I know it's an added layer of, it's a version of code enforcement, but to the degree we can follow that, I think we should, and we're entertaining other similar plans, and it just concerns me that
If it's okay if I interject,
do not always follow the conditions. Thanks.
This is Stacy Van Meter. I already had someone come out to tag trees and we don't have any large trees. So it's just a little bit different property.
Sure, no, I understand.
Yeah.
And just to add on that, if you don't mind, we cited the site in the areas where there are little to no trees. And as a part of the soil erosion permit, we'll be clearly delineating the disturbance of the site with silt fence and that. So whatever would be shown on the plan would be staked in the field and represented in the field. So anyone who goes out there could see where the limits are supposed to be. Just if that helps kind of quell any additional concerns.
Sure. No, and I apologize because the questions I'm asking are more about a project that has moved forward physically since we last met, but it's kind of related, not necessarily aimed at your project. So thanks for hearing me out.
Matthew, I do have a question for you regarding the detention basins.
Sure.
So I believe they're going to be dry basins, correct? If they're referred to as detention.
Correct.
What's the landscaping going on in the bottom of the pond? Is that grass or some kind of?
It will be a seed mix. The specifics as far as 20% of this grass type and that grass type, I don't know, but it will be a certain grass seed mix that can withstand wet conditions, and that will be specified. But it won't be a bare bottom dirt. It'll be seeded. I don't believe it's a requirement to be sodded, but it will be seeded. So,
Thank you.
Matthew, this is Becky. There were a couple references to the siding. Could you just please explain to us what Boral siding is and what your intent is for the knee wall, lower base perimeter of the wall? What kind of material do you intend to use there?
Sure, I'd love to be able to explain that, but I'm the smartest when it comes to the sites here. So I don't if there's if Sig's on the line here, maybe he'll be able to speak a little bit better as far as the vertical materials. I don't know, Stacy, if Sig's on, that he can help me out with that one.
Matt, I'm on and I can help out with that.
Perfect.
Boral board is a masonry board, and in the architectural world, it's considered a masonry veneer is what it's called. So it's basically having like a brick siding is what it falls under architectural. Boral just happens to be a brand name. Some people know it as cement board.
Okay. In the color of it, I think there was some confusion on that.
There is, the narrative is correct. It will be black, not brown. Redbud has some distinct colors, and they use the blues, the grays, and the blacks.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions from the board?
I had a minor question. Well, first, I just want to thank you for including a recycling component in your proposal. I thought that was really nice of you to do. I did see something that was interesting, that you're using glass jars to house your flour for retail purchase, and that you were kind of hoping that you could recycle them. I'm also on the recycling commission, and one of the problems that we're having is that all the local material recovery facilities in the area won't process glass. And so that's just something that's unavailable to us. I was wondering if you had like some sort of contingency plan, if you would accept them and sterilize your jars and reuse them, or if there were any other kind of materials that you use for retail that were either recyclable or compostable.
We'd have to deflect that to Alex, and he is on the line, and he can answer that.
I'm here, Sig. I can take that. This is Alex. I'm one of the owners of Redbud. You're right. We do use a glass container for some of our flour. We have a recycling program in place whereby if patients bring back their jars, we offer them a discount on future purchases. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to be a little bit more economically or environmentally friendly, I should say, with our packaging. We're also looking at some hemp drive packaging as well. It's a little bit more biodegradable, also a little bit more environmentally friendly. COVID and some of the shipping concerns from China have also slowed that down. So something we're looking at, just we haven't been able to get to it fully as of yet, if that helps.
Yes, thank you.
And
You're
Matt,
welcome.
how is that return, glass return working for you? Like, are people bringing back their glass jars? Is that how that? Off the speaker.
No, we hear you.
Oh, no, I mean, he's off the, I'm saying he's
Oh,
mute. I'm just curious how that's actually working for him.
I believe you positioned that for Matt. That should actually be for Alex.
Yeah, sorry, it's whoever. I was just more curious on.
Oh.
And I was wondering if it's a good program or.
It is. It's working in our Acme location, which is right next to Traverse City. That's the first place we launched it over the summer. We got a fair amount of returns there. That's a medical only facility. So we're not seeing as many patients as an adult use or adult use and medical facility would have. We also do kind of showing, it's more of an Instagram thing, but asking folks to show us how they're reusing the packaging in other ways. So for instance, some people have grown like small plants within the jars themselves, or they use them for buttons, or kind of local household uses as well. So
Nice.
Yep.
Thank you.
I have one last comment, Matthew. This is Becky again. I really want to thank you for all the detail that you included in your plan. And it seems like, yes, we do have a lot of questions and we go through things pretty articulately, but I've never seen a security plan as well detailed as this. And I thought it was quite impressive, and your sanitation plan. And so I do want to commend you on the work that you put into this and the project. And at this time, is there any other comments from commissioners? Or
I guess I would just ask the one, this is Dave Eiley, because Jeanette in the public comments had asked how far away the nearest facility is. I think that was in Douglas. And I don't know if you know the answer to that, Lene, or, I mean, it's.
I don't. I think it's about, I would say probably a quarter mile to a half mile, maybe even a half mile. We don't have separation requirements for marijuana facilities in the township, meaning we don't have requirements that they be a certain distance from one another. We do have a requirement that if you have a grow facility, that you can't grow marijuana closer than 500 feet from a residential property. But other than that, we don't have any limitations on the concentration of those types of businesses.
Thank you.
I think it's important to note too that we also can't limit the number of those businesses. And sometimes people ask that of us and they'll say, how many do we want? And that's not really up to us. We can't limit that in number.
Well, we talked about that at one point and determined that we could not do it by number. And as a result, as much as I am very, very opposed to marijuana facilities within the community, it's again like sand mining. I mean, the law is the law, the ordinances are the ordinances. And as long as everybody meets the requirements, we can say okay, or we can say no, and then we can get sued.
Any other comments, Lene? No? Okay, if there is no further discussion, is there a motion?
I made a motion earlier and I'll make it again to approve conditioned on Lene's remarks, questions, objections, and considerations that we approve this.
Roger?
And that was for A, correct? For 6A, special?
Yes.
Yes. Dave.
I'll second it.
And that would include the 13 items that were on our,
Can we
and
make
plus
it
we
the
added a 14th about a do not disturb area. Is that correct?
Yes.
It also includes item 2 through 7 from our engineer's report.
Yes,
Is that correct?
it does.
Okay. So the motion has been made by Mr. Walk and seconded by Mr. Eiley. Is there any further discussion?
Just to clarify, are we voting on the SAU and site plan as one piece?
That's a good question, Lene. Can you help us with that? We need to do them as two things,
Yeah,
correct?
it's just the SAU or?
I think it would be great if you did, they're combined in this memo, so I would just clarify in the motion and whoever seconded Dave, I just clarify that this is a motion to approve the SAU and the site plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Maybe this is redundant and unnecessary, but relative to the site plan, I feel like our zoning administrator has brought up several individual items that need further clarification or alteration or discussion, as long as all that is included in this. Otherwise, that's why I asked, I'd have been more comfortable waiting on the site plan, but I wanted to just say that.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Ed.
Lene, are you comfortable including those things that you brought up about the site plan into this?
Yeah, thanks for that comment, because we did have a lot of questions about the site plan that I was able to talk through with the applicant and their engineer. And they did provide some updated renderings already. And they have been very collaborative with us from the beginning. So I'm confident that, we're not going to be issuing any kind of permit until we have a site plan where we've checked off every condition on this list and every condition from the township engineer and the conditions yet to come from the fire district. So I do feel comfortable.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lene. Okay, so I'd like to do a roll call vote at this time. Let's see. Eiley,
Yes.
DeFranco,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes, ma'am.
Shipley. Is she on? Denise Shipley?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
Welk,
Hello?
Yes.
Israel's yes. The motion passed.
Oh, you didn't call my-
Thank you.
Who didn't I
Thank you
call?
all.
Bill Rowe.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rowe.
Yes,
Okay. Motion passed unanimously. I'm sorry, I'm new.
no problem.
You can fire me.
Not yet, no.
You look good, Bill.
All right. Okay, moving on to item number 6B. It's a special approval use application from Jars Holding LLC to operate a marijuana retailer on parcel number 20-029-002-11, AKA 2790 Blue Star Highway. Parcel is within the C3 zoning district. All right, Lene, would you like to introduce this project, please?
Sure. Let me get to the,
Yeah, that's this one.
I think next time I'm going to create, what's it called? Breaks or a table of contents in the PDF. So I can get right to the item. All right.
It'd really be nice if next time we were all together collectively.
Right.
We have to do that. I know it's.
I guess what makes this request different from the last request, a couple of things. So first off, the applicant Jars Holdings has already been approved for a special approval. for the purpose of a medical provisioning center. So what they're seeking now is, sorry, I have to let my cat out.
Recreational.
Now they're seeking adult use, so it's an amendment to the special approval that they already have. The last time Jars Holdings was before the Planning Commission was over a year ago. So they've had quite a bit of time to update their site plan and address some of the conditions that you had at previous meetings. I do have their updated site plan that I can share on the screen. But as I mentioned, they're just looking to add adult use. Everything has stayed the same in terms of their security plan, their odor plan. I will probably just get to some of the conditions of approval. So we added our usual conditions about windows and doors remaining closed, about negative air pressure, that lighting fixtures be downward facing and night sky compliant, that the odor management be sized according to the volume of the room it's serving, and we would like verification. That the applicant adhere to all the standards that any local, state, or federal law imposes, including our ordinance at all times. We did add a condition that the access easement be shown on all the sheets. So let me quickly pull up their site plan. And we can take a look at that. Okay, so let me see if I can rotate this. Okay. Okay, Blue Star Highway. And then this is the adjacent property owner. And we did receive comments from Joe Costella. So I do think we should probably have the Planning Commission talk through those. Those were provided in writing. But this is the site. This is an existing inn that's going to be repurposed for the provisioning center and retail facility. They did provide us detail of the trash enclosure with the lock. And this is they did make a change to their site plan to show this 20-foot easement that is a shared access easement with the adjacent property owner to the south. In your packet, you'll see some of his comments related to the construction of this driveway. Also a desire for security on his property, expressing concerns about some of the traffic or just people being confused and just the type of use that this is, having kind of a heightened need for some additional consideration around security. We did want to clarify that the applicant, this line with the X is not denoting removal of something. It's actually, I believe it's indicating the fence that will be placed at the rear of the property. So I know the adjacent owner just wanted to clarify that, and I do believe that that is correct, but I'm sure the applicant can speak to that. The dumpsters fully within the property lines and the setbacks that's shown here in the corner. We did receive some comments from the public, the neighbor, about maintaining some of these old growth trees. And we certainly heard that comment in the last project as well. So I think that it might be good for the Planning Commission to talk to the applicant about the tree preservation and exactly what will be done to ensure that those remain. And even our ability, you know, I know that we're flexible with pavement, and you know, things can be moved and shifted to preserve some of these wonderful, some of the wonderful tree canopy. I know the adjacent owner asked that the easements be shown on all the sheets, including, you know, it's not shown on this site plan, the existing site plan. And I think also, you know, the lighting plan and some of the other plans, I think they wanted to make sure it was shown. Let me see. Let me get back to my staff report. The drainage basin, we added a condition that be labeled. We wanted to hear more about the pavement materials. The well on site, we were interested in whether the well would be abandoned. And then we were looking for verification that the well be capped. And then just a general condition about the fees and conformance with any other review bodies. So in terms of the special use standards, as I mentioned earlier, none had really changed from the original. We found that it met the special use standards for marijuana facilities in the township. That they they abide by the disposal requirements for marijuana, and they're minimizing theft by locking the outdoor refuse container. They are containing any waste materials inside of the building, so there won't be any outdoor storage. We don't have any application for a sign, but any future signage would have to conform to our ordinance. We found that their odor control system is sufficient, but we do want to have verification from an engineer that that the system that's proposed is sufficient for the size of the space. And they did include a maintenance plan. They said that the filters would be replaced every 6 months and that the carbon filter would be replaced every 4 years. We added conditions about negative air pressure and keeping the windows and doors closed. Their hours of operation comply with our ordinance. And then in terms of the general standards, we found that the use, I think, you know, provided some of those conditions or consideration that the neighbor has brought up. You know, perhaps with some of those conditions added that the use will be more harmonious with the adjacent residential use to the south. We did find that this special use would not change the essential character. They're not changing the exterior of the building. They're repurposing an existing structure. You could even maybe add that as a condition just to clarify, but it's pretty clear in the site plan that they're not changing the building. We found that given their operational standards and their any other conditions you add regarding drainage and the security gate and landscaping will help ensure that this use will not change the essential character of the area. And we do not believe it'll place additional demands on public services because of the kind of high intensive security system that they are proposing at the site. They did provide an easement for the Blue Star Trail. We do still need a copy that shows that that has been recorded, but they are showing that on their site plan. That was a previous condition from the original medical approval. And then we also found that the lighting complies with the ordinance. They don't have to abide by our architectural standards because this is an existing building. So this is a public hearing. I know that Lisa Dowdy is on the call, as well as Hani Kaseb. So whoever wishes to speak, the applicants may wish to have some words.
Hi, this is Elisa. I was, we were there last year and we've worked through this site plan extensively with our engineer to go over all of the drainage, potential issues with going from a gravel driveway and parking to an asphalt and, with removing some of the outbuildings, there's going to be less runoff. So, and he worked with Mr. Bird through all of this for the better half of the last year, I would say, to get all of these calculations just right. In terms of the easement, that was a last minute type thing where we drilled it down to the date. It was not in any of our title work. It's actually recorded somewhere else. So we've gotten that, and we can go through and update all of the plans to reflect that driveway easement. And I did see the note about the drainage basin. We can go back with our engineer on all of that. Again, this was previously approved for medical marijuana. We've held off on submitting the adult use application until we've finalized all of the plans with our engineer, and when we got close to a point of feeling like we are there, that we would submit for the recreational use. And I do see the notes about the landscaping. Our landscape plan actually shows all of those old growth trees in the front, and all of the existing trees in the back remain. And then we do have to add some more landscaping along the sides to conform with the ordinance.
Hi, this is Dave Heilman. Is this a good time to ask questions or make a comment?
Dave, we'll open it for public comment in just a minute once the project representatives are finished speaking. So if you don't mind just waiting a minute. Anyone else from the project have anything to add?
This is Jason Abril. I'm one of the directors of operations for JARS. Just want to point out that in our plans to kind of go off what Lisa said, we are adding 40 shrubs, over 40 shrubs and 40 trees. We're keeping the existing well on there to facilitate water and whatever is needed inside the building. And as far as you are correct, Lene, that's not Xing out. We are required to put a fence around the building, so that will be done. And as far as the basin, from what our structural engineer said, just needs to be cleaned out. So we'll take a look at that and see exactly what needs to be done. And I want to thank you and the engineer at the township for helping us out to get everything right on this project.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the project as a project representative? So at this time, I would like to declare that the public hearing is now open. Anyone who would like to speak to the project from the public, Lene will recognize you.
This is Dave Heilman.
Thank you.
2755 Blue Star, across the street from the project here. And a couple of things. First of all, the plan, refuse plan A0.1.1 that you showed earlier did not show the 20 parking spots that now show up on this plan. So my question, which I'm going to let you answer one time, has that expanded? Has that changed? Is there more parking? Because if this gets approved, there will be more traffic. And last meeting, we pointed out, along with the other neighbors, that quite frequently, as we're pulling down Blue Star, preparing to turn left into our driveways, cars zoom up behind and pass on the left, even though our blinkers are on and we're ready to turn. And this happens quite frequently. You guys were notified of that last time. And now there's going to be more people who don't know exactly where they're going that are going to be slowing down. And the neighbors here know we're watching out for these idiots that are doing this, but other people aren't going to be watching out for this. So I want to know, we raised this last time, was anything done in the plan or by the township to rectify the situation. And the last applicant, it was discussed that it was a benefit that traffic would be pulling off onto a private road instead of pulling off directly onto Blue Star. So I'd like to understand how that correlates to what's proposed here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If there is no one else wanting to voice a public opinion, then I will close the public hearing at this time.
Thank you.
It is now time for commissioners to discuss the project and ask questions of Lene and the project representatives and each other. Who would like to start?
Hi, this is Lisa Dottie. I was just clarifying that the plan shows 12 parking spaces. And we did have a traffic study done last year, and our traffic advisor noted that there wouldn't be a significant increase in traffic. So I think maybe some of the concerns, you know, obviously everything will have to go to Allegan County for review, but per our traffic study, there wasn't going to be a significant increase in the traffic. And I understand with any new business, that is a concern. But according to what, you know, with the traffic counts and everything, during the peak hours, AM and PM, I have to go back to my files from last year, but I think it was like an additional 2.5 cars than normal during those peak hours. So,
Lene, can you please put the current A0.1.1, the revised plan? This is the old one. Can you show the revised one that's in the package that shows all the parking spots, please?
This is the most updated plan, correct, Lisa, that I have on the screen?
yes, this is the
One
updated.
that one in the packet was the older one. This date you'll see on the screen is 8/20/24, David.
There's only 10 parking spaces.
Okay, I do see that. The package should be updated, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from planning?
John.
I had one comment regarding the landscape plan. And I see that there is a bike path easement that is set aside. Well, I don't, what was the official name for it? It's
Blue Star Trail.
well, I can't remember the exact language. It's on the plan here. It's called the like a public access easement, or I can't remember where I saw it, but either way, there's an area identified for, I would assume, the Blue Star Trail that's set aside. But I noticed a lot of the landscaping is actually put inside that easement, where it seems like that might be an additional cost if when they do go to put the trail in. I don't know unless there was maybe some other thought that was put into that. They call it the easement for shared pathway. 10-foot easement for shared pathway. I didn't know if there was any thought put into, if that landscaping's there, then it's something that's going to have to be removed if they go to put the bike path in.
So that's existing, right? This is Jason. I'm sorry. Those trees up front are existing. So once the trail comes out, you guys figure out what the trail you're gonna do. We can remove those trees. Not a problem. Remove them, and we can also replace them.
I didn't realize they were existing either, so that helps as well.
Yeah, yeah. So they are existing. The ones up front.
I do see it says, okay, yep.
So do we have an alternate plan for removing those now and putting landscaping on the other side of them?
Well, the other side would be within the right of way.
Okay, so that's not a possibility.
And it might be that when and if the Blue Star Trail is extended south, interchange, there could be sufficient space in this right of way for the trail. And these trees would not be disturbed. We're just getting the easement in the case that it might be needed.
Okay.
It's kind of thinking ahead. I know back in that meeting, Bill, even you brought up the question, did we even need that easement? And we were just leaning towards having it in case it's needed, but it very well may be accommodated within the space that the road commission already maintains.
And I believe we did that on the other side of the highway too. Didn't we? That was discussed then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, but anyway, that's. Is there any other questions?
John has some comments.
Just a question, and I think I know the answer. I just wanted to clarify. It's been referred to a couple times and on the site plan itself, but that the current existing log exterior is the one that will be maintained, or is it to be replaced with something similar?
No, we do plan to maintain the existing exterior.
As is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if we talked about what the pavement materials would be.
They are just the standard asphalt. So the engineer, his notes, and I'm sorry he wasn't able to make this to kind of go through some of these details that I'm just not familiar with, but his notes say it's standard duty asphalt pavement. So it looks like 1 inch MDOT surface course, and then, you know, different layers of materials. So I think what, you know.
And so that would be along the shared driveway too, is that correct?
That's the entire parking lot. So yeah, including the shared driveway section.
Okay. I'm just wondering if we've addressed all the 6 items that were in the note from Joe Castilla. I'm sorry, I might mispronounce the name. But it sounds like we did.
Do we have clarification that the large pines that Joe is referring to have been marked, and that like we're all aware of, that the applicant and the commission is aware of the trees he's referring to, and that we all know that these are staying? Because I mean, I just from driving past it, I know which trees he's talking about, and they're, you know, they're beautiful. They're, you know, native white pines. So I just think that, you know, especially with, I know which property John was, or Commissioner Helmrich was referring to earlier, and maybe we should just have confirmation that everybody knows which trees we are valuing and the neighbor values, and that the applicant is clear that we want every effort made not to disturb those trees.
So correct, we are not removing any of the trees at all. In fact, we're adding hardscape in the back and adding more trees in the front and the back. But as far as removing any of the trees, no, we're not.
Okay.
And one thing we can share with you is our signage. It's very simple. It's just the JARS logo. Obviously, you know, and we can share that with Lene so you guys can have it. But it's simple. None of the, you know, leaves or the crosses or anything like that will be posted on the outside of the building as well. It's a clean look.
If there is no further discussion.
Becky, did you see the comment? So just so we know, this written comment from Joe Costello is part of the public record. There was a request that a cyclone fence with remote sliding gate be constructed on his property.
So we can have further conversation with Joe. I know he's trying to sell his property to a marijuana use, and he does have an easement off the main road. So there is a gate there right now. I mean, I don't mind fixing it up, with the existing fence, but for me to put, a remote fence, a sliding gate, it wouldn't make sense. And if he sells the property, looking at the deed, that easement would go away. The new owner would not have an easement right.
Okay.
But all the other things he's wants clarification are, we can address them on. I think we have actually, so it's not an issue. I just think the remote slide fence is just, I don't think it's a need. Like I said, I know he has easement off Blue Star Highway as well too.
Okay.
Did we discuss the garage being demolished and the well near the garage?
Yeah, so the existing well, we're gonna keep it there and use it. We are gonna, when we demolish the garage, we're just gonna, add trees and grass there.
Okay, and they were asking if to verify that the well's been sealed.
Well, it's not gonna be sealed because we're using it. It's gonna be used right now on the premises.
All right, so, okay.
When we had our inspection done, there was only one well and it was closer to the side of the building, not the garage. So I'm not aware of another well, but when we had that inspection done, there was only one well to service the main building.
Okay. I don't know if Joe's still with us, but if he can verify that this is what he was questioning. Is this the same well?
I don't know that the adjacent owner is on the call. I
Okay.
don't see that name here.
Okay.
Anything else, Dave, Bill, John, Danielle?
Do we know what the speed limit is on that part of Blue Star? Is it a continuation of the 45-mile-an-hour that's on the other side, that's to the north?
No, it is not.
I don't know if that's something that we want to connect with the county about, maybe extending that, because it's almost like an extension of that business corridor now.
Well, that's something we can talk to the county about, but they're pretty restrained in doing anything different than currently exists. And it's a 55-mile-an-hour once you come over the bridge in out of Douglas.
Yeah, and that would be the county's call. That's not, the township has no purview over speed limit.
Right.
Right.
It's totally county. And we've asked for stop signs, we've asked for a lot, and they do their thing.
If there is no further discussion at this point, is there a motion?
I would make a motion, Becky, as I said earlier, to approve the special use application from JARS Holding, contingent on meeting all the requirements of Lene Wells' review of the application.
I'll second. I don't know if you heard that, but I said I would second.
Yes, I don't see, did Becky get,
She's gone.
she is not here right now.
Hmm. The battery went dead.
Mhm. So we had a motion. Dave?
We have a second.
you have
Should
a
we take a
motion and
vote?
second?
So I guess I can do the roll call. Rowe, or not the roll call, but the vote. Rowe,
Yes.
Shipley,
Yes.
DeFranco,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Welk,
Yes.
Hiley. Yes.
Hi.
All right, passes.
Thank you. We got one more.
One more. I'll wait for Lene to see if she's.
Okay.
I was worried earlier when that rain came through that my power was going to go out and wondered what the protocol is.
Of course, I guess Becky has to, she's sitting out on this one anyway. So if you all bear with me, my first chair position, leading here. We're now discussing new business 6C, special approval use application for Mark Babluski, AIX Designs, LLA for miniature golf facility at the northwest corner of Blue Star Highway and Clearbrook on parcel 20-003-068-30. It's in the C3 zoning district. And I guess, Lene, do you want to walk us through it?
Sure. And I did get a call from Chairman Israel. She said her computer went black and she would be joining via phone, but I said, you're recusing yourself on this item anyway. All right, so we have a request for an 18-hole natural style miniature golf course that has a small snack bar and a space for a food truck. This is a special land use in the C3 zoning district. It will be a themed course. It will have a natural design with a stream, a pond, rocks. They say that there's going to be a focus on the landscaping. It would be a vintage look. It would have 2 restrooms and a snack bar and a storage area, an outdoor patio with tables and chairs and umbrellas. This is just a special land use right now, a special approval use, and depending on whether it is favorably accepted by the Planning Commission, that will determine whether that then submits for a site plan. Okay, so let's see. Sorry, my screen is also freezing. This was a very big packet. You can see that this property, it's at the corner of Blue Star Highway and Clearbrook. It is not a very heavily vegetated site to begin with. They do plan on adding a lot of vegetation, especially along the property lines, the north and the west property lines, recognizing that there's adjacent residential uses. They've included kind of a general site plan that shows parking and access from Clearbrook. And some precedent images for what the landscaped area might look like, as well as the little snack shack that they're intending to construct. We've included the aerial that shows, again, not very heavily vegetated. There is some apartment and residential to the west. And then I provided a review letter. I think it's important to note that there are several uses that are permitted in the C2 zoning district by right. that could be even more impactful to the adjacent development and not require any approval by the Planning Commission. But in terms of the analysis, the first is that local traffic should be accommodated within the site so that entering and exiting vehicles will make normal and uncomplicated movements. Because access is from Clearbrook, we find that access is uncomplicated and that the flow of traffic would remain on Blue Star Highway. We do have another standard that all points of entrance or exit shall be located no closer than 100 feet from the intersection of two streets. And we've added a condition that the applicant receive a driveway permit from the Allegan County Road Commission. But as shown, the layout would conform to this standard. Number 3, that all vehicles would have clear vertical and horizontal sight distance within 100 feet of the street and 300 feet in either direction. And we found that because of the placement of the parking lot, that the sight distance is maintained, and that this use is not anticipated to generate extensive traffic or demand on the road system. Number 4, that acceleration and deceleration lanes may be required. We defer to the Road Commission on that. That is their jurisdiction, and they would have to get a driveway permit, and they may or may not require that. So our condition would be that they abide by the Road Commission standards. There is a standard for a buffer strip between residential and agricultural lands. And we note that the snack shack is 270 feet from any multifamily. It's 175 from single family. And so the snack shack is within that buffer or meets that buffer requirement. And then that the applicant is showing an additional landscape buffer along the north and west property lines to ensure that there's no conflict there. We've also noted that the way that they've positioned their holes and the putting greens kind of direct balls away from the housing too. I think sometimes the standard probably relates to more of a traditional golf course than such a small scale putting green mini golf use. The requirement number 6, that the front yard be 100 feet. And let's see, minimum front yard of 100 feet shall separate all uses from the right of way. The yard would be landscaped, and they say that they're adhering to this standard by placing parking and landscape within the front yard. The C2 requires a 70-foot setback, and that would be confirmed during site plan review. Number 7 and number 8 are not applicable. And then the 4 standards for special approval use. Would this use be harmonious with the character of the area? It won't be, it will be harmonious, and it won't be, and it's more harmonious than other uses that are allowed in the C2 district. It would have a minimal impact because of the landscape buffer and the way that they've cited the putting greens. Will it change the essential character? We found that this is a very tourist-based area. We have many uses on the Blue Star that cater to vacationers, and this use is very similar to those. So we find that it's consistent with the character. Number 3, will the use be hazardous or involve activities that might be detrimental to public health? We didn't find that any of the activities are anything out of the ordinary or different from what you would expect in a commercial district. And then will the use place additional demands on public services? And we didn't find that it would place any additional demands than any other use that would be allowed in that district. A couple things, I did get a call, I think it might have been from Jeanette, who is on the line, who did have some questions about fencing. Like we do see that there's a landscape buffer, but maybe we could require as part of the special use, a privacy fence along the west and north property line. There was a question about the hours of operation, which were not confirmed in the application. There was also a desire to have no amplified music. So that was something. And then a question whether there would be any special events. So that was a phone call that I took a couple weeks ago. I also did want you to know that the township received via email 4 emails in support of this request. One from Kathy Hartthorne. She's supportive. She thinks this is a family-oriented use and this is an ideal location. One from Fred Gregory in support, saying this is a family-friendly use and something needed in the community. One from Arlene Sayre, also saying this is a family-friendly use that they would support and bring their grandchildren to. And one from Kathy Merrick at 3481 Palmer in support of the request that it's family-friendly and a use they would welcome in the township. So I just wanted to make sure that those were on the record. So we've included some potential conditions and then some items for the Planning Commission to consider. This is a public hearing, Commissioner Eiley. So we do have the applicant's representative on the line, John Tenpas.
Tenpas, thank you.
Tenpas.
Yeah, I'm John Tempest. I'm an engineer with Driesinga and Associates, and I am working with the applicant. Basically, I have not prepared any of the materials that were submitted for the special use application. However, I would be the engineer who prepares the final site plan. Presuming that we get our special use approval, we would come back with a detailed site plan outlining all of the site development plan, the driveway, stormwater management, all of those types of things. So I'll be the one that prepares that plan and submits that. And I did just want to mention, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have, but I talked to Mark last week. Regretfully, he's on a plane traveling between California and Florida as we speak. But he is been living in Florida for the past many years and is looking to relocate to the Saugatuck area, wants to make Saugatuck his residence, and has owned a flower shop down there for the past 15 years and wanted to make sure that it was very clear. I think Lene, you mentioned it. Their intent with this course is to make something very aesthetically appealing, lots of natural landscape. It's not going to have any type of a theme or, cutesy aesthetic. It's going to be nice, natural plantings and rock beds and things like that. So I think there was that image in the application to give you just an idea of what they might be looking to do. So that is their intent. Hours of operation, and yeah, just off to the left there, I think is that image at the bottom left, to give you just an idea of what the owner's intentions are at this point. Hours of operation have not been determined yet. It would potentially be, typical daytime hours for a use like this. It might open at, as early as 9 a.m. or, and be open as late as 9 or 10 p.m. I don't know if there's any specific requirements that you would have. We'd certainly be open to discussing some of those details with you guys. But they're hoping to open this facility and just provide a nice venue for families, for tourists, for members of the community who wanted, something to do on a nice day. It's going to be seasonal. So, primarily, I would say May to October is when this facility would be open, and it would be closed the remainder of the year. I think there were a couple of concerns or comments that were raised by adjacent residents. I'll just speak to those a little bit. Fencing, we're hoping to provide, some nice visual barriers with the landscaping on the north and west sides. However, if fencing, some type of a privacy fencing was deemed to be beneficial, or if that's something that the township wanted to require, I think the owner would be open to that. They would make it something that is aesthetically pleasing and not, utilitarian. They will have music broadcast through, which a lot of times you see speakers that are hidden in rocks, that type of thing. It would be a very low volume background music, basically at a volume that's, as people are playing the course, they can speak at normal conversational levels. They don't have to elevate their voice to be heard above this music. So it's going to be very low volume music. And then regarding events, they would be hosting birthday parties, for example, or company outings here, but they're not going to have any, large, boisterous, organized events at this facility. So, I think that's basically the things I wanted to highlight. Again, we'll be working through the details of the driveway with the Allegan County Road Commission, and we'll work through details on the stormwater management with the township and with the drain commissioner if required. And we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, John. I believe you were the only one here to represent the owner. Is that correct? Or is
Yes.
there anyone else that would like to speak? That on behalf
Representing the owner, I believe Mark was not able to make it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So at this point, I'd like to open the public hearing. And so the public hearing is now open. I'll try to remember exactly what I'm supposed to say here as far as the rules of. So if you, well, we don't have to worry about coming to the podium, but when you come up and speak, state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Unless you're representing a group, you can have up to 5 minutes. If you have something to add once you're seated, which does happen, you are welcome to briefly add a comment once everyone in the audience has had an opportunity to speak. I think that's all. Lene, would you like to?
Sure.
Put it out
Now
there?
we have Jeanette. Jeanette, would you like to share some comments for 3 minutes?
Can I have 5? Because I'm actually representing the group of people that live at Singapore Cove Apartments.
Sure.
Okay. Well, when we first got notice of this proposed golf course taped to our doors, I read it over and I thought, okay, well, maybe I should go around and ask everybody that lives here what they felt about it. So I actually have a signed petition in my hand, which is representing 13 of the 15 people that live in this area, including the person that's renting the house at 6581, I think her address is. And they're all not in favor of this golf course. And the reason stating would be is the noise, also lights coming into the upper story bedrooms, because our bedrooms actually face that lot. They're in the back of the apartment complex. Also opportunist theft and vandalism. We have a very small community here. We're all very close knit. We look out for one another. Basically, we trust each other, and we have also a very, very small parking lot. And we're thinking that if the overflow, because they don't have enough parking there, people are going to come over here and take up our parking lot, which we don't have enough parking spaces for the residents as it is. So we're concerned about that. Also, the traffic would be a big concern because right now we have a hard enough time to hop onto Blue Star as it is, either direction off of Holland Street or off Clearbrook. And now you're stating that the parking lot's going to be right there off Clearbrook. I think that's a really bad idea. So do you want me to submit this petition to someone? I can bring it in and stick it in the box if you want. So I guess that's all I have to say. So,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Is there anybody else? I see Carrie's iPad, Terminal's iPad. I know, John, you said you weren't going to be speaking. John Vanderbeek. I don't see anyone else.
Okay, if there's no one else, I'd like to close the public hearing and now open it up to the commissioners for discussion. Anyone who would like to speak?
Yes, the only thing I could say is, it seems like a really nice addition to the community. It looks like they would meet all of the requirements. Of course, we haven't seen an actual site plan yet. This is just SAU approval. It concerns me that the neighbors are so concerned, but something is going to go on that property. The property's for sale. As Lene mentioned earlier, it could be something even more dense, more traffic. So I don't think it's a question of if the property is going to be developed. It's more a question of when and what is going to go on this property. So just sharing those thoughts.
I tend to agree with Bill. Something's going up on the property. My concern would be for the size of the property and the setbacks for those, for the homeowner next door and for, I don't know if they're apartments or condos there. It sounds like a wonderful idea. I do agree. It's a great fit for the community. I like that it's maybe a smaller footprint and it's not maybe taking down, so much trees and not so much concrete, or I do think is keeping with the area, but I do have some concerns about the neighbor and the setbacks. I don't know if we can speak a little bit more about that and what's to be done about the setbacks.
Well, again, the next step would be site plan approval. And I think that might be the time to address some of those concerns rather than now. This is just special use approval.
Special use, got it.
Yeah, we're not approving, if we choose to do this, we're not approving the site.
Would it be done? I guess that would be the question. I mean, maybe without those setbacks and I guess what you're saying is it's not, that's not for today's discussion.
No, I support Bill's proposal.
Lene?
Again, it's not a final, it's more just, this is a preliminary appraisal.
Lene, I had a question for you. Sure. Would you be able to speak to some of the approved uses for the property, like alternative uses?
Yeah, look, I just grabbed my book. So indoor auction house, bank, including a drive up, barber shop, bowling alley, dental medical office, laundromat, restaurant, exterminator service, funeral home, nursery school or daycare nursery, sign painting and servicing shop, taxidermy studios for dance, photography, parcel delivery station, pet shop, grocery store, party store, convenience store, auto parts store, gift shop, retail, tanning spa, hardware store, tool and gauge sales, small electronic repair, travel agency, bars, tavern, lounges without a dance floor, and essential services. Those are all permitted uses. They wouldn't require any review by the Planning Commission.
I'd like to, it's Helmrich, comment. Just, I think this is so in line with some of the goals we've set for ourselves with the master plan relative to the increased vitality and even beautification of Blue Star Highway corridor. It's an entertainment center. It's good for tourism. It's good for families. It sounds like it'll be very attractive and not some of the other approved uses that you just outlined. And, you know, and it's kind of located equidistance from both Dairy Days and Penny Royal, two very successful businesses that are open till 10 or 11 at night in the summer and draw lots of crowds. And I think this is very fitting. And I do have one question, and that's just, is it Mark or the applicant? Yeah, Mark, Mr. Boblowski, does he have any background in developing and running this type of business, or does he have partners working with him with a background? Do we know?
He is working with a designer who does this type of facility. He does not have a background in designing or running mini golf facilities, but he is working with experts that do. So they're going to be putting a lot of thought into this, and they have a lot of care that goes into the work that he does. One thing I did also just want to mention, there was a concern brought up about lighting, and the course itself is not going to be lit by any tall pole mounted lighting. Again, it's going to be primarily seasonal in nature, operating during daylight hours, for the most part. And so the lighting that they do have in the course is going to be low landscape style lighting and not tall, 20-foot poles with LED lights shining down. So, relative to, things like a bank or a party store, there's going to be dramatically less potential for light overspill with this use than there would with just about any of those other uses.
Thank you. And I just want to add, I mean, if the SAU is approved and this moves forward towards a site plan review, it would be helpful at that point to get some for detailed information on other projects similar to this that the consultants have done that we can look at.
Absolutely. Be happy to provide that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I might recommend that the Planning Commission, if you're considering this, to add conditions in the motion, just memorializing the things that the engineer is saying regarding daylight hours, no amplification of music, low lighting, no pole lighting. I just think it would be helpful that that those just aren't part of the comment, that those become part of the conditions.
Well, are you recommending that we approve this?
I'm just recommending that those be included. They're not in the conditions, but I've heard them raised by the applicant in response to some of the in response to some of the comments from the public. So instead of those just being comments, I think they should be memorialized into conditions, because then we have more ability to kind of enforce those, frankly.
All right, then I would memorialize those conditions as you proposed from the engineers and from yourself and make a motion to approve this special approval use.
Boy, Ed, you stole my whole, the whole part of being the
I'm sorry, Dave.
charge of this thing. I'm supposed to, throw that out there for you to do that, but but having said that,
I had to keep Bill out of it tonight. He's so often the total proposer. So,
Hey, I'm sorry, may I ask, I'm not clear what conditions are being referred to.
I'm sorry, John.
I think, I agree with John. I think we need to spell out what is actually.
I've lost track. There have been comments. I don't even agree with all of them. So what conditions are you trying to have us itemize?
Well, I was going forward with Lene's recommendations and the engineer's recommendations.
Is that just the 4 points then here?
Well,
point 4 is other conditions, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think what Lene had suggested is that we add, the operation only during daylight hours as condition number 5. No pole lighting is condition number 6. No music amplification is item number 7. Did I miss anything, Lene?
I don't know if the planning commission wishes to require any kind of fencing. Because I know security was brought up by the neighbor.
Wouldn't that be more a function of site plan review?
It would be. I mean, I think in our site plan standards, we require landscaping and maybe a berm or a fence when adjacent to residential. Again, I didn't do a full site plan review as part of this, so you could require that during site plan review as I think we have general standards for site plan review in case it's not spelled out in the ordinance.
Okay.
Still request it.
So we would add that as item number 8, that fencing on the adjacent residential properties be required. Okay. So Ed, is it okay if I amend your motion to that point?
Is it too early to comment on 2 of those conditions? Or should I
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm confused. I just feel like a couple of these are being rushed into prematurely. Relative to, I don't understand this notion of daylight hours when restaurants on the corridor are open after dark and daylight changes, the time of daylight changes every single day. And it just seems premature, in my view, to limit or expand that at this point. And I also have a question. I'm not even sure how you define amplification. I mean, if a music's coming through a speaker, by definition, it's amplified. Again, I think we should limit that maybe at some future point with more technical input, but to just say amplification, that would mean no music that I can see.
So as far as the daylight hours,
those 2 are, I don't know, they just seem premature and very.
The way I understood the reason for the daylight hours is actually John had mentioned that during his discussion that that's when they would operate.
And as a point of clarification, I did say primarily during daylight hours because it's in the summer when the days are long. I wasn't proposing to limit us strictly to daylight hours.
Yeah, I mean, that would mean
But
closing
primarily
at
during
8
daylight
o'clock in
hours.
August. I mean, all the other businesses are open in the area after 8 o'clock. Many of them, that's all.
So, I mean, we had talked, again, hours of operation have not been set in stone by the owner, but we had talked about, potentially something in the range of 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. With the possibility that they might open earlier if they decide to offer, coffee for folks that want to stop and get a coffee first thing in the morning.
So,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
so John, I think you brought up some good points. I tend to agree with you. You know, why would we restrict this business in that way? You know, that we don't, you know, any other business. You know, perhaps it would make sense to remove the daylight hour restriction and the no music amplification restriction and just stick with no pole lighting and a requirement for fencing where it meets the adjacent residential properties, in addition to Lene's 4 recommendations. So that would be a total of 6.
And then if I can, again, just another point of clarification on the lighting. I don't know if there may need to be some pole lighting for the parking area. When I mentioned the no pole lighting, I was again talking about the course itself, which is, you know, to the north and the west side of the site. So, you know, there may need to be some pole mounted lighting for the parking area specifically for security and safety purposes, but they wouldn't have any pole mounted lighting over the course.
We can be
But
specific about, we can be specific about that and say no pole lighting within the golf course itself.
That would be reasonable in our opinion.
Okay.
Will there be food served open at the entire time of entertainment? Or will there be certain times of just entertainment, no food, or just food, no entertainment? Or do they, the hours of both run the same?
Primarily, the hours would be the same. They did mention the possibility, as I mentioned earlier, that, you know, there could be a decision at some point if it was agreeable to maybe open for snacks or coffee in the morning when the course is not open. You know, they're not going to open a mini golf course at 8 o'clock in the morning. You know, that would probably open later, but you know, the first thing in the morning would be, you know, snacks or coffee potentially, with the course being, you know, like 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., something like that.
If we're to assume that it's more the entertainment portion of it is more than the food portion of the business.
Hey, Bill.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I follow.
So when you're separating a food business and an entertainment business, I understand you're together here, but assumably this is more of an entertainment business than a restaurant.
Yes, yeah, the food and snacks are definitely a secondary function here. The course is the primary function, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And, you know, the snacks are going to be low intensity. There's not going to be, you know, any heavy food preparation going on here.
Okay.
So Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's the motion on the floor was the approval of the SAU with the 4 conditions set out by Lene, plus landscaping, landscape lighting or low lighting on the course itself. And as well as number 6, fencing along the adjacent residential properties.
Correct.
That's correct. So
Bill, you can change it however you want.
Okay.
All right,
So,
that's the motion on the floor. Then is there a second?
Can John speak to the food truck at all? Because there's a food truck component aside from the snack bar.
Yeah, there is. And actually, I thank you for bringing that up. The food and snacks, there's kind of 2 components there. One would be the snack shack, which is, you know, beverages and light snacks. Anything that's cooked or prepared in any way heated would happen in the food truck. You know, they're not going to provide anything in the snack shack that competes with what they would be providing in the food truck. So, you know, the food truck would be sitting there on site and available to provide more prepared foods. But of course, that's a, you know, a mobile facility.
Do you know if they have any interest in running that food truck year round, or is this just part of, you know, it's going to be May to October for everything?
Yeah, it's the May to October. It's seasonal for everything. At this point, I'm not aware
Sorry,
of any
Barbara.
intention that they would have to run that food truck in the winter. I don't think they want to be plowing this parking lot. Yeah, I think the intention is this site would basically be dormant in the off season.
I'm happy to support the motion on the table.
Thank you.
So we have a second. And so I'll call the roll call for a vote. Rowe,
Yes.
Shipley,
Yes.
DeFranco,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Eiley, yes. All right, so it's unanimous. Do we?
Thank you.
Lene, now do we bring Becky Israel's back in?
Yes, let's bring Becky back.
All right.
Becky, are you able to unmute your phone? I believe it's *6.
I believe I'm unmuted. Can you?
All right. We can, yes.
Okay, I am so sorry, my screen went black, but I guess at an appropriate time. So I'm back on, and thank you, Dave, for taking over the meeting there for me. Next on the agenda is item 6D, and Lene, would you like to lead that housing, attainable housing discussion?
Yeah, and I know it's been a long meeting. So we can let some of this simmer, but since our last meeting, I wanted you to know I had a great phone call with the city of the Village of Douglas, Nick, their planner, as well as Cindy, the planner, zoning administrator in the city of Saugatuck. So we had an opportunity to just kind of shoot the breeze a little bit and talk about some of the planning issues that they're seeing in their communities. And we spent a lot of time talking about housing. And it turns out that the city of the Village of Douglas is also looking at some strategic ordinance amendments to specifically to reduce the minimum square footage of dwellings. And then Cindy shared with us the language that the city of Saugatuck recently approved. So it was a great opportunity to kind of share some best practices. So I just have kind of two changes for you at this time. One of them is to decrease the minimum floor area. And we heard during the Housing Next presentation how constrained our residents can be when it comes to purchasing a home in the city and the township. And the whole area, frankly, on minimum wage, of course, and what it would take to be able to afford a brand new 1,000 square foot home, that it's simply not attainable at the minimum wage, the established minimum wage. In fact, you'd have to be making close to $25, $30 an hour or more, or have 2 or 3 jobs to be able to buy a home, a new home in the community. So what we're looking at is reducing the minimum. Right now it's 1,000 square feet. So we look to the city of Saugatuck as a model. And in the city of Saugatuck, they have a minimum in all their zoning districts of 600 square feet gross floor area for a single family detached structure. So that's a single family home. And they have a 900 square foot gross floor area for 2 family homes that are attached, like a duplex or a row house. And that the minimum of the ground floor would be 600. So you could do 600 and then a 300, kind of like a wedding cake type of layout. And then for multifamily, they've provided, we're providing a recommendation that we look at 375 square feet for efficiencies, 600 for 1 bedroom, 780 for a 2 bedroom, 940 for a 3 bedroom. And then anything over 3 bedroom would be 940 plus an additional 40 square foot for each additional bedroom. So not only do I think that that moves the needle and gets us closer to allowing more of those small format homes, I think it corresponds to what our master plan has identified in terms of providing a diverse housing stock, providing housing, the ability for housing that meets the needs of the community. I think that it will help. I think that it's great that it's going to be consistent with the other communities too. We've seen how, our rental ordinance, it's the same in all three communities. And so, it's really just a benefit when we're all kind of working together. And I think that being consistent is going to be helpful for the building community, for the real estate community, for potential residents moving in, because to them, our boundary lines really don't exist. It's all one place. And then the second one is something that maybe will deserve conversation tonight or another night, but the idea of allowing accessory dwelling units. So an accessory dwelling unit is when you take, say, the garage and outfit it for a residence. And, some communities might allow these everywhere. Some might allow them in certain zoning districts. The approach that I've taken here, which we can debate and we might want to look at, is only the R1 district. And I probably should have included the zoning map in here, but the reason why I thought R1 would be appropriate as a way to kind of dip our toes into this is that much of the R1 is served by water and sewer. So I think this is a way to infill areas where we have utilities and where we have services. I also believe that the R1 is an area of the township where we have roads that are paved, where we have services pretty close by. We have the Blue Star Trail near. And it's also not an area where I've seen that we have pressure related to seasonal rentals, because often the accessory dwelling unit, there could be concerns that those become rental units. And we do get the occasional complaint about seasonal rentals and the carrying capacity of the Lakeshore area. We certainly have our challenges on Lakeshore Drive. So to me, I felt like we kind of might want to steer away from that part of our community, even though there's likely demand for it. It just seems like that could reach a bit of a tipping point. There could be concerns about parking, other things in that Lakeshore area. So I thought that R1 might be a way or a place to dip our toes in if we want to start thinking about accessory dwelling units. But certainly that's debatable. You know this community much better than I do, so I'm really interested in your thoughts. I haven't written standards for what this would look like, other than I was thinking that we would require the property owner to be living on site. That might be hard to regulate. I was also thinking that we would have a regulation that we couldn't have a rental permit on both the house and the accessory dwelling unit, that you would just have one or the other that could be rented. We could perhaps limit the number of bathrooms in the ADU. We could limit the square footage. I know in Douglas, they allow ADUs, and it can only, like the living area can only be a certain percent of the structure, so that there's still space in that structure for the vehicle, or, if it is a garage that's doubling as kind of a carriage house. And that parking would have to be on site, not in the front yard, not on the street. So those were things that were swirling in my head about potential conditions. But again, I'm really interested in your thoughts on this. Yeah, I just thought we could discuss those two sets of changes.
I personally, I'm in favor of both recommendations. I think, reducing the minimum square footage is a great idea. I think, we need to encourage, smaller units, more affordable units. I also like the ADUs. I think, Douglas has been doing that forever. It's worked well, and I guess the only thing I would maybe take issue with, and I know this is just a discussion at this point, but requiring the property owner to live on site, I think that's just too onerous. I don't know how we could do that. It would prevent them from even selling their property if there was a requirement that live there. So I would not be in favor of that, but the rest of it I think is great, personally.
Anyone else?
I like both proposals. I like lowering the minimum square footage and the accessory dwelling units. I would be interested perhaps to extend it from R1 to A1 and A2 as well, just because those more rural properties typically already have secondary structures on the property. And I think that, I don't know how many properties in R1, either have a pre-existing structure that could easily be converted into an accessory dwelling unit, or have the space where the homeowner is going to want to do it. So my fear is that if you limit it, there's really not that much land in the township that's R1. If we limit it that much, how many people are actually going to turn to accessory dwelling units, where if you're talking about more rural properties, then you're probably talking about families who have children who want to stay on the property, or you're talking about people who already have existing structures that could be converted into, an accessory dwelling unit at a lower cost because the structure's already there. So that's just a thought. That like who has the demand for it, and where can it easily be put into action. So you'd still stay away from the river, but you're talking about bigger parcels of land.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree also.
My only concern with that is the municipal water and sewer when we start talking about putting it in agricultural.
Yeah, but typically in an ag zone, you're going to have larger pieces of property.
Right.
There's no real issue with septic. You
Well,
can, 1 to 5 acre parcel, you can easily add a, 300 or 400 square foot accessory dwelling unit.
That's true.
But more likely make it affordable, like we're attainable, like we're looking at housing for people, versus keeping it strictly to the R1 district and not requiring somebody to stay on the property. We're just now looking at more renting it out to seasonal rentals versus more attainable housing for local people.
If it were in agriculture, would we limit the number of structures?
That's a good point, like that you would only have one per parcel. Yeah.
I think that would be the safest thing to do in whatever zone, otherwise all of a sudden you've got a complex.
Yeah, I like both these proposals as well. I agree with Denise that my concern would be is, do you open it up to where someone could come in and, and build some smaller structures for short-term rentals? And then we're not really meeting our purpose. We're looking at trying to bring people into the community as opposed to creating another business opportunity for for a property owner. But that would be my only concern is I would like to see long-term residents move in or long-term renters for that matter. But either way, people that would be in the community.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. The other thing I was thinking about when I read this is that neighborhoods often have their own bylaws, and those bylaws would supersede this. And so certain communities may already say that they do not allow these kind of structures, and that would take precedence over this.
True. Would you think that this would be something that would just be kind of staff level approval, like our seasonal rentals, or something that would require planning commission? In Douglas, it's staff review.
I would totally say staff review.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree too, but I do have one small point with that. With fire department review too. I mean, would they have to review where the structure is and if they're able to get to the structure?
That's a really good comment, and I admit I have not shared this with them yet, but maybe that would be a good next step. We've certainly been doing a lot of collaboration with them, and I'd be interested in, and I can't remember how they do it with Douglas. So I'll look into that.
Okay, I just thought that was a good point when I was reading through the square footage and I got to in excess of 3 bedrooms, you had to have 40 square feet per bedroom additional. And I thought, wait a minute, that's 4 by 10. And I thought that would never pass a fire code, but I know that they're looking at it in terms of the big
In totality, yeah.
In totality.
Yeah.
So, but then that's what made me think that if we do put this in agricultural, there does need to be fire truck access and things like that too. So that's another consideration. And that's all. So do we need to actually like have a motion to refer this back to staff? I don't think we do we?
No, I'll just take it back and work on it.
Okay.
John, did you have any comments?
Okay, then are we ready to move on with the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, I added 6E and I'll be very quick about that, but I really wanted you all to know that Lene has done a lot of work on process charts. And it was in the newsletter and there was some reference to the process charts and I pulled them up and I thought these charts are wonderful. And there is charts like she's showing you right here, which you can access on the website, and it's under permits and forms, and then it's called process charts. But it's a very simplified version. If anyone says to you, oh, you're on the planning commission, tell me about the special approval use. How do I get it? You can just pull up this chart. And I would just recommend that maybe you look at them. There's special approval use there. There's a rezoning process, a site review process, building permits process, and there's rental dwellings process, and among some other ones. But I thought that it was very well done, and I want to say thank you, Lene. It's really helpful, I think, for everyone. And I
Thank
think
you.
That's all I really wanted to say about that. Has anyone else looked at them?
Yes, I saw them a couple months ago, I think, but
I'm sure you did.
but I thank you for bringing them to more of the forefront and highlighting them. And I agree, everyone should take a look at them and talk them up to our neighbors and people that have questions, because they're easy to follow and they're great. So thank you, Lene.
I
You're
agree.
welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
I do have some, edits and refinement to make on some of them, but I'm also working on, and it's taken a bit of a backseat because these past few weeks have been really crazy, but I'm hoping the winter slows us down a little bit. But I've got a draft of all of our forms digitized. So they're all consistent, they all kind of look the same, and that they're fillable. So that someone can fill them out online, save it as a PDF, and then submit it. So that's our next goal. And it's just, it's on my list.
You'll get there.
We'll get them. We've been fine without them so far, but that's the goal.
Well, you've created some nice things, and I just really wanted to draw attention to that. And I hope that we all use it. I thought they were all very informative. Moving on to number 7, old business master plan review. I believe Denise had a couple things she wanted to share with us there, and then we can discuss and create a subcommittee possibly for studying the master plan. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I know last meeting Dave had submitted some thoughts, and I had asked also how it maybe submit some thoughts, and they really, some do go back to the master plan, some go back to what Dave had started talking about, and I'm just trying to figure out the whole process. So yeah, thanks for mentioning me. I discussed that, non-motorized paths I have written down here, non-motorized paths and the Blue Star Crossing, preparing for non-motorized needs when things start getting busier around here. So that, I don't know when is the time to talk about that. Do we wait for it to come up? But I would like to add that to my list of things to be.
No.
Hey, can I make a comment? Becky? You mentioned setting up I think you said subcommittee to review the master plan. And I think some of us have had some conversations since last month about maybe setting up 3 or 4 specific, or subject topic related subcommittees so that all of us are working with someone else on a subcommittee towards the overall review. And I think we talked about perhaps one that's specifically on housing, one that could be on mobility, which would include motorized trails and roundabouts and issues like that. Third could be rural character. And then the fourth one, which I just was thinking of now, that's maybe part of mobility, but it's been brought to my attention that it used to exist and that there had been a tri-community Blue Star plan a couple of years ago. I think, Dave, you maybe even were on it, and it kind of disappeared. So again, I would support bringing that back, or it could be part of a mobility subcommittee.
Yeah.
Understand.
I think that would be a great idea.
Dave, are you willing to still serve on that?
Absolutely.
It was you and the gentleman who owns the Dune.
Yeah, Linus Starring was on it as well.
Dune
I
Rocks.
mean, it was very, very short-lived, mind you, but it was something that was put together, and it received a lot of support at that point.
Cheers.
But then it a lot of things changed, as we know, and it was one of those things that now we're bringing it back up, which I think is great, and we can get it back on track, and I would love to serve on that.
Good, Dave.
Well, what I would like to do is I would propose if you would email me with your 3 or 4 topics that are your top priorities that you would like to see us address, and then I can kind of collectively gather that and pass that back to you. We could then choose those areas. I think that I've not heard from everyone, and I've put that out there, but I've heard from John and Dave and myself. And Denise, if you have kind of a list of more than what you discussed tonight, even, please let me know. And Ed and Bill and Daniel, just your top priorities. And after looking at the material that you've gotten, would that work for you? And then I can kind of consolidate it and organize it and give it back to you. I mean, we already have a master plan, so I don't want to recreate that, but I just want to make sure our priorities we can come up with our top 4 possibly, or is that not what the board would like, John?
So Becky, you didn't hear from me?
This is a planning commission issue at this point, and then our end goal is, once we're able to meet in public, to have that suggested, if not required, annual meeting between the full board and the planning commission. So I think it's probably too early now to do that, for both content wise with so many new members of the planning commission, as well as the restrictions with COVID-19 and meetings. So I think it's a great first step, and I'll share that with the board, and we'll both entities can move forward towards that eventual joint meeting.
Okay, so I would like to suggest that within the next 2 weeks, you can very simply email me your top priorities if you choose to, and I'm not saying that you have to. It may not be something you're wanting to do, but it's very important, I believe, to the Planning Commission and the board. And then I will consolidate those and we'll go back and look at that list. I mean, I think John hit the nail on the head actually with housing, mobility, and the Blue Star, but we've looked at Blue Star in terms of traffic and things that we'd like to see on the Blue Star and what we would like that corridor to look like. So there's a lot of things in all of these, and I think it's very important for us to look at. I don't remember what your 4th one was there.
Rural character, and that, that includes everything from, land usage to potential, we talk about stronger tree ordinances. I mean, it's a pretty broad one, but it's also unique to us. When we keep comparing ourselves to the 2 cities, I don't have the math in front of me, but the township is probably 4 to 5, if not 6 times larger in the surface space than the 2 cities combined. So we do have different challenges and opportunities that, they don't, and we don't want to lose sight of that.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to add?
So Becky,
Yes, Ed.
did you not hear from me?
I did not, but I would love to. Will you email me your thoughts, Ed? Your priorities?
I will email you my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. Okay, now moving on. Oh, go ahead. Did somebody want to say something? Okay. Number 8, we are back to public comments. Is there anyone else or anyone that would like to speak?
There's no one left.
Oh,
We put him to sleep.
oh.
We addressed Scott Waring's question.
I would love, thank you, yes. I did reach out to Eagle about 4 weeks ago. They told me that they've done inspections, that in their opinion, Chad Van Horn is very aware of the requirement for a permit if the pond is greater than 5 acres. They did not feel that there was any need for them to go back out to the property. And so, we take their word, Eagle's word on that. Yeah.
But question, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Was there any stipulations?
I am done. Period.
Do we know? Was there any stipulation reforesting it?
No.
But do we know, did Eagle's inspection include an actual measurement, or are they going on what Mr. Van Horn says?
I don't know.
And I only bring that up because, I was there. He stood in front of me in the office several months ago and, boasted that, he knew he was 2 feet under the requirement to get Eagle permission, and sort of flaunting that. And I don't know if Mr. Waring is right or not, but it would seem to be there'd be a way to actually get an accurate measurement.
The neighbor, they interested parties can certainly submit to Eagle their concerns.
But is that the same as saying, can you come please measure this?
Sure, they could.
I don't see that a concern. Maybe, you know, Eagle's pretty busy right now. I don't see why we
Yeah.
can't get an accurate measurement, even if we get it, do it ourselves. So we can answer people that have this question. Maybe it is over 5 acres. I don't know.
You say Eagle didn't get back to him, that they never responded to him? Didn't he say do I read somewhere where he did try to get hold of them?
No, I think he said that he was going to, in his email, let me see. Hmm. Sorry, let me look.
That's okay. Yeah, I can't remember myself. I thought for some reason he said he.
We've been in touch with Jason Combs at Eagle, and he provided us with the link to the inspection report.
Yeah.
The information in the report is very limited. There are a few pictures, but no reference to the size of the pond. Mr. Combs informed Mr. Swan via email that the pond does not require a permit because it is less than 5 acres. I have emailed Mr. Combs this morning asking him for the measurements of the pond because I disagree with his statement that the pond is not more than 5 acres.
So therefore, it's never been measured.
Seems like it's something that could be looked up if Eagle did it.
I emailed Mr. Combs this morning asking him for the measurements of the pond. So I do not know. That was Mr. Waringa emailing Mr. Combs from Eagle about the measurements.
My experience with all this is Eagle's never going to measure that pond. I mean, you're not going to have a federal organization come in and measure the pond. It's going to be something where, and I'm curious as to maybe we must not require this, but if we approve a site development plan, we must not require as-built drawings at the end of construction. Because if we did, we would have those as-built drawings, correct?
Yeah,
Am I understanding that right?
We don't have that requirement for an as-built. We do have a restoration plan that was approved. And then if and when they decide to do any housing or any kind of development, that would come back to the Planning Commission.
They're already selling housing lots. It's been to sell.
Well, for the land divisions that they did.
For sale signs are up, so.
Yeah.
Sold signs are up, John.
Yeah, sold signs are up. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well,
They are, they're sold.
But either way, I don't
those
know.
could be fake.
I don't know what the proper way to
He
do.
sold it to his
But to me-
kids.
To me,
I
it
mean,
seems like
is the Planning Commission wanting to direct the township to do, I mean, to call Eagle again?
I don't think.
Van Horn also says it's under 5 acres. So we don't have the technology to measure.
My thought, what I'm saying is something down the road in order to prevent this is putting a requirement in place that if you're building a retention pond on a site, if you're, just having as-built drawings that show that you've constructed it per the engineering plans. And that's something that the developer would then provide. And that way you would have that, and they would hire a professional, they would hire a surveying company that would come in and they'd have a stamped drawing from the surveyor that says this is what it is. And that would rule out any question as to what's there and what's not there. But that's in the future. I mean, obviously, where we're at now.
A lot of approvals were made based on information at the time. And I don't think that it's something that we would benefit by going back to at this point.
And Mr. Van Horn has said that he has not done anything since the approval.
He hasn't. Except
No,
sold
he hasn't.
the lots.
So that's what Eagle has said, like, as soon as he does something, he's going to have to get that permit, because it will be making it bigger, but he
So
hasn't
the
done.
township is not in the position to send out a surveyor, just to survey it out of,
That would be like thousands of taxpayer dollars.
I guess so.
Well, I still think it's in everyone's interest that we know exactly how large it is.
Right, what is the cost? What is, what is it worth, I suppose?
And if
It's
Eagle did not measure it,
What is-
someone needs to.
Seems like a dilemma a lot. They do things even we were discussing earlier about adding trees and bushes, and if it doesn't happen, then
Right.
what plan is in motion for when things aren't fulfilled, requirements aren't fulfilled? Whereas the township, the planning commission, where do we stand when these things don't, we request things and they don't happen? Then what is the follow-up on that? I think that's kind of where we're feeling a little bit with this lake, pond, whatever he's calling it, was it done? And where is the burden of proof? Is it on the township? Is it on the property owner? It kind of leaves us all a little questioning what, the reality of the pond at this moment. Do we just all go, okay, I guess it feels kind of where we're at right now. We just have to throw our hands up and say, okay, we just accept.
Well, we did go to Eagle and they said that
That's true. That's fair. Wait, that's what you said. So that the inspections were done is what they'd said. Okay. So I guess we're just at their mercy to say, okay, we believe you. And
They should be able to answer our question though. Otherwise they and us and others lack credibility.
yeah, how big is the pond? It seems like it's gotta be easier than not being able to get it done.
Well, a simple way to, also knowing that he could say no, because I don't believe he's required to do it from what I'm hearing right now, but we could always ask Mr. Van Horn if he would supply as-built drawings of the pond.
As built makes sense.
Lene, is there any way, I know that roofing companies, there's an app that they have on their phone and they just put your address in and they take a satellite picture of the roof of your house and they can estimate the amount of shingles needed to within one bundle from a satellite picture. Are you aware of any kind of software that could do that with acreage?
Yes, they exist.
It's got to, and I would think just an aerial shot, you could, if there were a way to determine size, you could take an aerial shot, use a Google Earth picture of the pond and size it relative to the whole property. It can't be that difficult,
It's just, again, the cost. There is a company, I know someone that's exactly what they do. But again, it comes with the cost, and who is the cost? Is the cost at the township? Who is the cost come to? They do exist. The company does exist.
It has to. But then the question becomes, so let's say we find out it's 8 acres, then is that on us to deal with it, or do we kick it back to the state and say, this is your problem?
Pond, grow some more trees, fill in the pond. What do you do now?
Yeah. I mean, I think it could be opening up a real can of worms. I don't know.
Well, we'll look into the options. We will contact our township attorney about these comments and see where to move forward. Again, we reached out to Eagle. They're comfortable with where they are at this point. He's confident that Chad knows the requirements. We have a link to this report. It's their rule. I mean, our condition was just memorializing their rule. So.
Okay.
And what I was suggesting earlier isn't, and I'm not trying to say Mr. Van Horn is doing anything wrong, because I have no idea. I'm just saying in the future, it'd be nice to be able to have the information of an as-built drawing to go back to neighboring residents to say, look, here it is. This is,
Yeah,
it is built to the right size. It is whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a pond. It could be,
yeah,
landscape berm. It could be I
Yeah.
don't know. But it'd just be nice to have an as-built drawing for us to say, here,
mhm,
I
mhm,
agree. I
this
totally
is what
agree.
was approved, this is
Mhm.
what was built,
mhm.
end of story.
Yeah, yeah. Next time, we're learning.
Right, right.
Yeah, and that's how we learn. Any other, well, a board discussion? John, are you ready to do a township board update?
Yeah, and I'll do it real fast, and it's pretty short. The full township board conducted a remote meeting via Zoom on September 9th and started with a public comment, which was heard on a request for an off-road vehicle ordinance resolution. A resident had a driveway issue relative to fire code approval and inspection, and more comment on the planned widening of Riverside Drive. I reported that at that point, over a week before the summer tax deadline, we were at a 70% payment return rate for summer taxes, which was very encouraging. And we were maintaining a solid budget versus actual spending and revenue activity through August. On a side note, I just want to mention that we received, the township, over $600 in memorial donations to the Parks and Recreation Commission in honor of the late Art Lane, who I think passed away in July or August. So that was kind of nice. And Clerk Bigford and I reported further research and activity we've been conducting relative to making some strategic changes in our investment policy. And we'll be presenting some actual action steps to share with the full board at the meeting in October. We've talked a lot about trees tonight. I'm happy to report that this week we are actually moving ahead and planting 3 new trees at the township, on township property to the south of the building, where there used to be a huge tree that I guess died a couple of years ago. And it's been a pretty, there's a lonely picnic table out there, and we're going to add some trees this week. And we also shared a tree maintenance report. Manager Graham's been working very hard with our cemetery sexton on, we have a lot of dead trees and issues in the 2 cemeteries that is being addressed. We approved the new fire department fee schedule, and we appointed Lori Lubensky to the Interurban Board. Right there on my screen now, the chair of this commission, Becky Israels, joined us and actually did the planning commission update to the full board. And that's where we did talk some about this, setting up these subcommittees to focus on housing, mobility, and rural character, which was well received by the full board. And it was great to have Becky there and get everyone to know her better. Those are my highlights. We are meeting the full board next on Wednesday, October 14th at 6 p.m. Probably on Zoom. Be nice if it wasn't, but we'll see what happens. Thank you.
What was the date again? October what, John?
14.
October 14th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second Wednesday of the month.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other, what, go ahead, John.
No, I was just saying thank you for listening. It was a long night.
It was a long night. All right. Is there any other business that anyone would like to bring up?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Rowe, seconded by Eiley. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful meeting. I know it was long. I apologize, but you're all great. Have a
We'll
nice.
see you next month.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Would you like to do a roll call vote to adjourn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.